Hello everybody and welcome to week 4 of English as a Medium of Instruction for Academics. It's our final week, so if you're still with us watching, we're really grateful to you. Thank you for taking part. It's been really interesting to see the comments, the feedback, and I think most interesting for me has been the stories. I think stories and anecdotes people give about education, whether it's teaching or learning, really give a richer context for what we're doing. And it allows us to think about why we need to consider what we're considering and what the possible implications are of our choices. So thank you very much for those. I've really enjoyed reading you giving a context to what we're talking about through these stories, and also your views have been really insightful as well. So thank you very much for those. I'd like to, so speaking about your kind of engagement with the course and feedback, I wanted to talk first of all about this step where we asked you, what would you like to see on this program? And I think it's really interesting because as one of the creators of the course, and I'm sure Mary would agree as well, who's another creator of the course, we've had discussions around what we could do, what would be possible. And it's really interesting to see you feedback, and some people, just to take an example, the suggestion that it would be nice if people could have a choice of how they comment. How do you engage with this course? So for example, you might watch a video and then you engage with the community. Some people will feel more comfortable making a video, making an audio clip, producing a PowerPoint. There are so many different ways that we can communicate through technology within an academic course setting. And I think it allows us to consider that when we look at students, when we look at designing modules, especially for intercultural audiences. We have to think really carefully about what their preferences might be and what the effect of our choices might be. So I think on the Future Learn platform, we don't have many choices in terms of how you can engage with each other, but the effect of the design is that you do have to read a lot and write quite a lot as well. And that's going to be how you're judged and how you understand what other people are saying, which will be an advantage to some and a disadvantage to others. But we shouldn't just think in terms of advantage and disadvantage. We should think about emotions, comfort, connection. Do you find reading and writing with other people a normal activity? Do you feel emotionally and professionally engaged in that kind of dialogue? Or would it be more powerful to have a discussion group with other people where you're speaking perhaps online but live? There are all these questions that come up which are deeply embedded in what will work and what won't work. And linked to that, I wanted to make a point just at the end, which I mentioned in a couple of comments, but I should make it clear. At the University of Southampton, we do have a preference for the term English medium education, because I think English as a medium of instruction draws our focus perhaps to the delivery of content. Like instruction has this connotation that you are giving something to people. So that something is what the lecturer or teacher has, and they give it to the students. And I think education is really not like that. And perhaps I would add, it's becoming less and less like that. Learning objectives for most modules we teach are not just about delivery of knowledge. It's about, how you get students to engage with you in return, how you get students to engage with each other, and sometimes how you get students to engage with wider academic communities beyond the university itself. So I think education is becoming much wider. And for that reason, I think we have to think about education in a much broader term than simply the delivery of a class. Teacher is the center, students are the periphery. And a final point, I'd like to thank Veronica for bringing people's attention to the kind of circle that this course has been on. So I think we started talking about language, and lots of people came in with the idea that they are the educator, they should be enforcing a kind of language policy. And I'm not going to say that's false, but I would say when we've ended up talking about culture, how you build a respectful environment, how you can get students of diverse cultural backgrounds to engage with each other. And some of you have mentioned perhaps those cultural backgrounds are not so diverse as they appear. And then the question comes again, how do you get those people to engage with each other in an English medium environment? And I think Veronica made the point that we can go back to language and think, okay, we need to consider how we treat language in an environment where we're talking about respecting culture. If you want open, respectful communication to exist among students, it's very problematic and difficult to impose a value system on the language. And the way you do that is, for me, my preference would be to do that very subtly and to do it within certain areas related to academic communication, but never overtly and never in a way that creates a barrier to communication or creates a value where you're saying one student's way of communicating is more valuable than another, because you're going to harm the culture of inclusion that you're trying to create in the classroom. So I thank you for the cycle that Veronica noticed there, where I hope we've been on a journey discussing education with our colleagues from around the world. And again, I hope you notice that no one section is truly isolated. Everything has to be considered from the eyes of the students, from the eyes of the teachers, and it's really useful to get your comments, your anecdotes, your opinions, because we need other people's eyes from around the world to really understand what it is that we do and how we could do that really effectively. So thank you very much. I'd say you are the course, and you have made this really, really interesting and engaging for me. And I'll just add, if you would like to continue engaging or seeing other people engaging perhaps, then we do have the Facebook group. So you can put the title of this course into Facebook, and it's just a way of maintaining contact. If something really interesting is happening, we tend to hear of it there. So whether it's a journal announcement or someone has some news from the course, then it's really good to hear from people that way. So do please get involved. And if you have anything to share, we'd be really happy to hear it. So thank you very much. I'm now going to hand over to Mary, who will also be sad to see you go. But yes, I'd like just to say, I hope to see you again somewhere, some way. And yes, thank you very much. Your comments have been really valuable to this course. So thank you again, and bye-bye for the last time. See you.
Hello everybody, and thank you to all of you for staying with us into week 4. Thank you to Rob for giving us that lovely overview of some of the experiences that we have shared together during these 3 weeks. And I'd just like to say how much I've enjoyed myself. I hope you have too. It's been lovely working with you all, and you have been such a delightful and positive group of people. I just want to add a few thoughts and also think to the future. I'd like you to think of, when you first joined the MOOC, might have been the first MOOC you've ever participated in. So there's that aspect, the actual experience of learning with colleagues in this dispersed way in an online context. And then there's the actual subject, the topic, which is English as a medium of instruction, or English as a medium of education, as Rob explained, is the term that we've actually come to prefer in Southampton, but more of that later. So think of those expectations at the beginning of the course, your assumptions, and then think about how you feel now at the end of week 4, changes that you've experienced in your thinking, the thoughts that you've had, and so on. And then what I want you to do is actually think, well, where do you go next with this? Because it's all very well to follow a course, but if you just, metaphorically close the book and put the book on the shelf, okay, well, what exactly are you doing with the book? Are you going to look at the book again, or just leave it on the shelf? Well, if you just leave it on the shelf, that's fine. Maybe you're not in a position to open the book again in the immediate future, but you may well be. So let's just think about what we can do, where you can go next, and where you can take forward your EMI experience. I think it was last week that I spoke about wishing to transmit to you feelings of empowerment, that you can feel confident for what you've done and move forward and take it into your teaching and take it into your teaching experience with your colleagues in your place of work. So think about the nuggets of information that you've picked up, not just from Rob and me. We are just the facilitators. Think of what you've learned from all the wonderful, lovely people on the course. Which one can you really incorporate into your setting, your personal teaching? And at an individual level, that is brilliant. If you can feel that you have, just on a personal basis, got something that can enrich your experience. But then maybe you can, in a slightly wider setting, pass on some of your knowledge, awarenesses to other people in your context. You may be part of a department, and I'd like you to feel empowered to speak about your experiences with your colleagues and perhaps help them along their EMI journey. And then, you may be in a position of some authority. Perhaps you are a real influencer in your institution or in your locality. So once again, you could have a slightly wider remit, a wider ambition to move the discussions around EMI along in your locality in order to make the best decisions for the people where you live, the people who are studying in English. And I think from the discussions that we've had, and remember that, Rob said we can't take things in isolation. A lot of the topics that we touch on can be applied to the teaching of English and then the teaching in English. I mean, the latter is what we're primarily concerned with, but it's so closely related to the teaching of English. So the two can be seen to feed off one another. So perhaps there are things in sort of like both areas that you can influence. I don't want to forget, I've got a list of things I mustn't forget to say. I don't want to forget to say that, the course is open for a further 2 weeks, and I will be going back over comments made in the previous weeks, and also welcoming newcomers. We have newcomers really who join, in the recent hours, not just days, but we have people joining right up until the last minute. So I will be trying to keep an eye open for new people and encouraging them to read what you've said and to add to those discussions. So if you can find the time to go back before the end of the next 2 weeks, then you might find that there are some more interesting things to read about and think about. So how are you going to keep ahead and abreast of EMI discussions that are taking place globally? One way is to join our Facebook group, as Rob mentioned, where we and other people post in notices of new journal articles that have been published, events taking place, and people can request information. People who are doing research can ask for people to participate. As well as the Facebook group, and I would like to point out that we've now grown to, I think it's 789 members last night anyway when I looked. So we're soon going to be 800, which is a lot of people in lots of different parts of the world. So I like to think that we're, you are already or will be a part of that community. But that there is another thing I would like to say, which is that Rob and I have thought for a long time, and we are going to go ahead with this, of delivering some webinars, short webinars. We're not going to make them very, very long, but short webinars from time to time, which will help us to keep the community together. And it won't just be us delivering the webinars. You don't want to talk, look at us all the time. It will be other people, and maybe you would like to participate in our series of webinars. That would be absolutely fabulous to see you teaching or delivering a webinar. We would publicise the information around these webinars on our Facebook page, in the group page, but I realise that not everybody is a member of Facebook or wants to be a member of Facebook. So what I want to do is, and this is my visual, I have a visual, is give you my email address, which is MWP, I hope you can all see it, MWP at Sotton, which is the short form for Southampton, Sotton, SOTON.ac.uk. All right, hope you've got that. All you need to do is drop me an email and say, obviously, your name, and I would then have your email address. And I'm going to keep a list of everybody who would like to participate in a webinar. Once we can get these going, once we can get them off the ground, and then when the time is right, I will send you all an email, and you will be able to join in. So we hope that via the Facebook group site and via the list of participants who are interested but not on Facebook, we will be able to keep a record of everybody who's interested, so you can join in the webinar. I think that's all I wanted to say, apart from the very, very most important thing, which is to stay safe. You've done tremendously well in keeping going through these 4 weeks, 6 weeks even, when, it's been very, very difficult for an awful lot of you, I know, to maintain interest when there have been other things going on in your lives. So the most important message is to stay safe. I hope you and your family and your friends and your colleagues are all safe, and that you continue to move on, in these changing circumstances, in your various departments. I hope that you'll keep in touch with Rob and me, and I hope to see you again in the very near future. I don't like saying goodbye, so I will just say, see you next time. Bye-bye.